So what's in the statement? Most of it we can't argue with, right? It sounds great. We want inclusion, we want equity, we want all these things. But what's really in that statement are the foundations of what everybody's already said. It is critical theory, straight from 1930, that came here and has been trying to take over and subvert this country from that time. What's laid in there are all of the phrases and all of the words that say equality or equity, that say inclusion, that say we're looking out for people, but they drive wedges and they're discriminatory, and it establishes a racist ideology. And so what you need to do is relook at that and take these fundamental tenets of what is a cultural Marxist and critical theory out of that and actually go after what you want, which is equality and trying to improve people's lives. Telling them that from the get-go, because of things about them that cannot change, they are victims, or because of things about them they cannot change, they are oppressors, is divisive at the beginning. It cannot end well. So I'm asking you to rethink this. Don't go down this road. Don't follow the counties nearby, right? Stop this now, and we need to reverse course.
Kevin Murphy. Kevin Murphy.
I don't really have a prepared statement, but I'd like to know, it seems all of us in this room here really seem to be against this critical race theory. I want to tell you guys, it's already here. I called my seventh grade daughter's principal earlier this year, and I asked her a question, the very first question I ever asked her. I never met her before. I couldn't meet with her in person due to COVID. My question was, when you were in 7th grade, how many books did you read about rape? Can you raise the hands, any of you? Yeah, nobody. Okay, there were 3 books on a reading list that were about rape, and one of them was white boys raping black girls. Why is this in 7th grade? One of the books was called This Is My America. It had a black girl on the cover, as if my daughter's America, who happens to be white like me, like that they're different. No, we are one America. And what this is all doing is divisive and destructive, and it's going to lead ultimately to war and death unless we stop it. Our kids are not your social experiment.
Paul Georgia. He didn't hear his name. Huh?
Thank you. I want to focus on one specific bullet point in the statement, which says, assuring all PWCS staff members examine and interpret beliefs, implicit and explicit biases, policies, and or practices that perpetuate systemic racism and discrimination. This statement raises a lot of red flags. Why do you believe this examination of beliefs and biases among the staff is necessary? Do you have evidence of widespread racism and biases among the staff? Do you have any evidence of such beliefs and biases? Have there been incidences of racism, systemic or otherwise, among the staff? If so, how many? Has any due diligence whatsoever been done before putting forth this vague, open-ended, and frankly nonsensical statement? I suspect it's just parroting the unfounded, fashionable assumptions of leftist ideologues in academia. It all sounds alarmingly like an unwarranted assumption of guilt. My second question is, can any of you define systemic racism? What do you mean by systemic racism? The state of Virginia is thick with anti-discrimination laws at every level of government, and those laws reach into every public and private institution in the state, including the schools. Isn't that the opposite of systemic racism? I fail to understand how the system is racist. My third question is, how are you going to assure this examination of beliefs and biases take place among the staff? Can any of you explain the manner in which this examination will be assured? Will this entail bringing in and paying diversity trainers steeped in critical race theory to do indoctrination workshops with the staff? In one school system in Springfield, Missouri, teachers were forced to locate themselves on an oppression matrix, which define white heterosexual males as the privileged social group and women, minorities, transgender, and LGBTQ people as oppressed social groups. They also
Thank you, Mr. Georgia.
Yeah.
Time's up.
They also conflated opposition to mundane government policies such as raising property taxes, which have no racial component
Thank you,
whatsoever,
Mr. Georgia.
to the true evils of Nazism and slavery.
Thank you, sir.
Please reject this statement.
We'll move to Mr. Stevens. We have 4 folks virtually. You want to take over?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I will be sticking to the 2-minute clock as well. So after we get to 2 minutes, I'll be disabling the microphone. So please try to make your statement within the 2 minutes. Our first speaker will be Jeff Fuller. You can unmute yourself and you have the floor.
Am I on video or are you just listening to me?
We can just hear your voice, sir.
Okay. I'm Jeff Fuller. I live in Haymarket, and I was startled to read your statement. I would like to just say that the people sitting in that room who've already talked should be sitting on the school board. I have never heard such garbage in one short statement as this. I have lots of problems with it. You don't have time to hear them. Whoever thinks this is a good idea, I wish you'd raise your hand and count so we can see who thinks this is a good idea and where did it come from? Who sat down and wrote this? It's poorly constructed. It's ill-defined. I have problems with every bullet, but the thing that jumped out at me is a discussion about that basically assumes that we are systemically racist. Several people have already raised this point, but we're not a systemically racist country. Even Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had to say that recently, but of course with lots of caveats. But this is a step into Maoistic thinking. It comes right out of the critical race theory playbook. I'm grateful for the lady that read the specifics of that. That was very informative and not surprising. You cannot, there's no science available that would tell you that you guys or somebody you hire is capable of figuring out what people's implicit biases are, let alone explicit biases. There's no research on that that's acceptable. And I think you should start off by finding one and explaining to your constituents and your parents what that science is. So please throw this thing away, start over, have a group of parents come together and help you come up with something that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Melissa Ridge.